Lori Daybell has had 5 husbands. Number 3 and number 4 are dead, and number 5 is accused of 3 murders. It's been a complicated personal life for Lori. She had 3 children, all under different circumstances. Her oldest child, Colby, was from her second husband, but he uses the surname of Lori's third husband, Joseph Ryan, who is dead. Her daughter, Tylee, is the biological daughter of Joseph Ryan, with whom Lori had an intense custody battle with before his death. Lori's youngest child was JJ, who is the biological grandson of her 4th husband's sister. JJ was adopted by Lori and Charles Vallow, husband number 4, who was shot and killed by Lori's brother, Alex Cox. That brings us to husband number 5, Chad Daybell, who has his own biological children and his own dead spouse, Tammy. Prosecutors say Chad, Lori, and Alex conspired to murder JJ, Tylee, and Tammy. And after her trial, the jury agreed that Lori was guilty. But as the jury heard all the evidence, they never heard from Lori. What is her side of the story? Why did she do it? Today, at her sentencing, Lori spoke publicly about her dead children and her husband's dead wife. What she said was beyond shocking, and tonight you will hear it all as Lori Daybell, the doomsday cult killer, speaks. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Tonight we're really talking about moms. And I sincerely hope that all of you, when you were growing up, when you were a child, had someone in your life like my mom. And I think you know what I'm talking about. A mom who makes you feel like you are number one, that you are important, and that you have everything that you need, and someone who was always there for you. And you know the type of mom we're talking about. And really, I hope you had that type of mom. And I know the moms that are watching right now are those types of mothers. And I know my children have that type of mom. Kids first. They all have that special filter. Everything I do, everything I say, every decision I make is through the filter as a mom. And that's how I learned how to be a dad, is through my mom. Like, you know, getting in there, the day-to-day stuff. By the way, basketball, love to play basketball. You know who took me down to the park when found out that I liked to play? Was my mom. She was the one who took me down there. It's because she played in high school too. So 2 children, JJ and Tylee. They had a much different mother. And that's extremely, extremely tragic and unfortunate. Extremely tragic and unfortunate. Because to put some perspective on this, when these 2 children are dead and buried in the backyard, right? To me, this is the image that tells you everything about the type of mother that Lori Daybell was. While they're buried in this backyard, and everyone's looking for him, where is Lori? Where is she? Of course, she's poolside in Hawaii with a bag of money and her new husband. That's where she is. That contrast, children buried in the backyard, one in a pet cemetery having been burned. There's Lori hanging out without a worry in the world. That explains to you exactly what type of mom JJ and Tylee had. Now, she's convicted of their murders, spoke today inside the courtroom. And we've all been wondering, like, we heard the lies on the phone calls when everyone was looking for them. We heard her saying very little else, though, about what happened to them, and spoke very little about them. Well, today was her opportunity at her sentencing. Let's take a listen.
I'd like to start by quoting John from the New Testament in the Bible. In John chapter 8, verse 7, Jesus says, He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. Then in verse 15, Jesus says, ye judge after the flesh. I judge no man. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. Jesus knows me, and Jesus understands me. I mourn with all of you who mourn, my children and Tammy. Jesus Christ knows the truth of what happened here. Jesus Christ knows that no one was murdered in this case. Accidental deaths happen. Suicides happen. Fatal side effects from medications happen. I have a different perspective in life because in 2002, when I was pregnant with Tylee, I died in the hospital while in labor with her. They tried to stop my labor. They put me on the table and they put something in my IV, and I felt my spirit falling to the floor. I was standing near my pregnant body, watching the doctors try to revive me, which took them a few minutes. In that time, my sister Stacy was standing to my left. I turned to hug her and was surprised that her spirit was as tangible as a physical body, because I knew I was in spirit and she was in spirit. She said she needed to show me some things, and we went to heaven. I later returned to my body. Because of this experience, I have access to heaven and the spirit world. Since then, I have had many communications from people now living in heaven, including my children, Tylee Ashlyn and Joshua Jackson, my sisters, Stacy and Lolly, my aunts and my uncles, and my grandparents. I have had many communications with Jesus Christ, the Savior of this world, and our heavenly parents. I have had many angelic visitors have come and communicated with me and even manifested themselves to me. Because of these communications, I know for a fact that my children are happy and busy in the spirit world. Because of my communications with my friend Tammy Daybell, I know that she is also very happy and extremely busy. I have always mourned the loss of my loved ones, and I have lost many in this mortal world. However, I know them more than most people. I know where they are now and what they're doing. I know how wonderful heaven is, and I'm homesick for it every single day. I know we all lived in heaven before we were born on earth, and we were all adult spirits in the heavenly realm. We chose to come to earth as mortals. Heaven is more wonderful than you can possibly imagine.
It's unreal. You murdered your children and you're talking about Jesus, and you're preaching from defense table. This is unreal. It's really beyond anything. I've seen a lot of, I don't know what's going on here. I really don't know. We're going to get to it this hour. We're going to bring in some experts. But first, we've got to go to someone who was there for all of this. Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter joining us tonight from outside the courthouse in Idaho tonight. I didn't know what to expect. I thought she might speak. I didn't know she was going to preach to all of us and tell us about Jesus. Unreal. So, how did the rest of the day go out there? Tell me a little bit about how this all sort of played out in Idaho today.
Yeah, Vinny, it was bizarre. I had a perfect seat inside the courtroom for an up-close view. Just a couple of feet away from Lori as she entered and exited that courtroom today. She, of course, was in her jailhouse garb. She had makeup on. as she usually does, her hair curled. And she sat there stoically. I had a hunch, though, that she would speak, because during victim impact statements, she would occasionally nod her head in disagreement, like she had something to say. And then we took a break, and when she re-entered the second time, she had a notepad, some paper, and a manila envelope, and was referring to it. So I had a feeling she would speak, and she took full advantage of that today. But that possibility of Lori actually speaking inside the courtroom for the first time ever drew people here, Vinny, from all over the nation, near and far. In fact, they arrived yesterday around 3:30 in the afternoon. Those first few people showed up to start a line outside this courthouse. They stayed all night. There were only 28 people who could be inside today for the final cut to have a seat inside the court room, and so several rows were reserved. Law enforcement who worked tirelessly on this case were in there. There were 4 jurors who convicted Lori here, drove all the way from Boise, Idaho to be here to watch this to fruition, telling me off camera that they wanted to see it through to the end and how deeply affected they were sitting through this trial, and tearful today during victim impact statements. And then, of course, the family members of the victims. They all arrived earlier. The grandparents of J.J. Vallow, Kay and Larry Woodcock arrived. They rolled their eyes at each other, laughed during Lori's statement. Vinny, as did Tammy Daybell's aunt, Vicki Hoban. She would nod her head like this to what Lori was saying, especially Lori calling Tammy a friend. And we also saw that Tammy's sister, a witness during the trial, showed up and spoke. Samantha Gwillen, the uncle of Lori Vallow Daybell, returned. These familiar faces that we witnessed during the trial returning to watch this unfold. The family ultimately believing that Lori was still doing what she always does, lying to the very end, not buying anything that she was saying. And her statement also didn't resonate with the judge either, Vinny. He said at one point, "I don't believe that any God in any religion would want to have this happen." Here's his verdict, or his sentencing.
So on count 2, the charge you were convicted of, the first-degree murder of Tylee Ryan, you are sentenced to the custody of the State Board of Corrections to serve the maximum allowed sentence of fixed determinate term of life imprisonment with no possibility of parole. On count 4, the charge of the first-degree murder of Joshua Jackson Vallow, you are sentenced to the custody of the State Board of Corrections to serve the maximum allowed sentence, a fixed determinate life imprisonment sentence with no possibility of parole.
3 consecutive life sentences at the end of the day for Lori Vallow Daybell. When she left the final time in the courtroom, I could see her face. She never looked up at the gallery or looked that way, but she was red in the face with a tissue in her hand, Vinny. I didn't see tears, but she was emotional.
Yeah, and again, talking about how she's not afraid of death, yet made sure that the death penalty possibility in this case was dismissed by the judge through the motion of the defense to get rid of it, so she wouldn't have the possibility of execution. But she will die behind bars. So post-sentencing reaction today, what happened afterwards?
Well, as soon as the judge said life inside the courtroom, family members embraced. They celebrated in there. That spilled out into the front lawn here at the Fremont County Courthouse, starting with the Woodcocks. Let's watch.
After this fight. They say that all good things must be. Maureen, you're guilty. He's arrested to life in jail.
And Larry Woodcock, the world's grandpa, as his T-shirt says, may not have been able to speak inside the courtroom to deliver a victim impact statement as he wanted, based on the law here in Idaho. He took full advantage, Vinny, of speaking outside this courthouse. Let's watch.
I think that we all knew the evidence was there. But if you think that I didn't worry, if you think that our family didn't worry, until the moment Judge Boyce said basically 3 consecutive life sentences. You're wrong. I was shaken. How simple would this have been if somebody would have just simply stood up and say, this is enough of this. This is enough. We're not talking about murdering people. We're not talking about people dying. We're not praying for people to die. That is sick. Let's please don't allow this to happen again. Please, let's do not allow this to happen again.
Also speaking outside the courthouse, Vinny, for the first time to the media was Tammy's sister, Samantha Quillen, who again testified at the trial and had this to say.
My family is really grateful for the care that the judge, the prosecution, and those in the law enforcement here in Idaho, and the care that they took in doing this case. And we're really grateful for the outcome that came from it. And we're so grateful for the public support. But we're still grieving the loss of our mother this summer, so we appreciate your well wishes, and I'm just really grateful for what the verdict was for today, the sentencing.
All of the family members, as you can imagine, Vinny, are closing this chapter, looking ahead to, of course, Chad Daybell's death penalty trial in April and the 2 pending conspiracy trials in Arizona for Lori Vallow Daybell.